All right, everyone. Welcome to our second breakout session of the day of the AI OER Institute. We are joined by Spencer Kahler uh, from the Rebus Foundation, and he's going to talk to us today about enhancing your creation with AI automation. Spencer, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining my session. I know I'm facing some stiff competition in terms of other amazing breakout sessions that are available to you. So I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you all today. I would love it if you would all introduce yourselves in the chat by dropping in your name, your institution or organization, and maybe your favorite memory from the summer so far. I know it's not quite over, but we are kind of cresting summer, I guess. So a little bit about me. I'm Spencer. I'm the program operations manager at the Rebus Foundation. I ensure the smooth execution of Rebus's professional development programs, including the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate, which I co-designed with Rebus's Director of Programs, Amber Hoy, and took inspiration from when preparing for this presentation today. I'm joining you today from Toronto, Canada, and I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which I am situated. I consider myself fortunate to live in the vibrant city of Toronto, from the Mohawk name Tukaronto, which means where there are trees standing in water. Toronto is situated on the unceded territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. As a settler on this land, I aim to do more than acknowledge these communities, but stand in solidarity with them as we strive for reconciliation and decolonization. And I would love for you all to share where you're joining from in the chat and reflect on your relationship to this land, whether you are Indigenous or a settler. Before you become acquainted with the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate, you have to become acquainted with Rebus. Rebus is a registered charity with the mission of forging new avenues for learning in open publishing. We work across borders to deliver professional development programs and resources for low to no costs, such as our signature open publishing project certificate, webinars on a variety of open education topics, OER consulting and office hours, and more. In pursuit of our mission to build capacity for open education at institutions across the world, we have created the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate. This course is designed to rekindle educators' joy for teaching by empowering participants to explore, co-create, and implement supplemental materials in their instruction. 6 self-paced modules and 3 optional live sessions familiarize participants with different types and examples of supplemental materials, refreshing their knowledge of learning science principles while guiding them through the creative process, resulting in one ready-to-use supplemental material. You may not be familiar with the term, but there's no doubt you've encountered supplemental materials before. Supplemental materials are sometimes referred to as supplementary materials or ancillary materials, and they are teaching resources that support students in conjunction with a primary source, such as a textbook or a novel. At Rebus, we like to broaden the scope of what supplemental materials can be and can accomplish by widening their definition to include materials that spark students' creativity and critical thinking outside of the conventions of traditional scholarship. This includes authentic assessments that challenge students to apply their knowledge and skills beyond the traditional academic context, aligning more with the tasks they may encounter in professional and civic life. Interactive self-checks that offer low-stakes, informal, and often ungraded assessments that provide students with a just-in-time opportunity to verify their comprehension. In-class activities that cultivate community and knowledge exchange among students by providing them the opportunity to collaborate in active learning. Instructional resources that promote multimodal learning like slide decks, question and answer banks, video tutorials, podcasts, and more. Before we dive deeper into each of these supplemental material types, I'd love it if you would put a 1 in the chat if you use any type of these supplemental materials in your instruction. As part of the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate, we ask participants to describe a life-changing teaching and learning experience and what made it so special to them. This self-reflection informed the values they instilled in their own supplemental materials. I'm going to share some of their responses to generate some inspiration, and then I would like to hear about your own experiences. One participant shared that they enjoy teaching a yearly session for their College of Information Sciences graduate colloquium. And they love this session, especially because they find the students so genuinely curious about the resources they have access to and support available to them from their institution. They ask an abundance of questions to the point that the session feels less like a lesson and more like a conversation. Another participant relayed an anecdote about using Instagram in the classroom to answer horticulture questions from the public. As the course progressed, students began inviting their friends and family to the class Instagram page to join the conversation online, showing pride for what they learned. This also fostered collaboration in the classroom as students worked together to answer these questions. Now I'd like to know about all of your experiences. I invite you to unmute and share a memorable moment of teaching and learning, or potentially drop one in the chat. I would also be happy to share my own experience of a life-changing teaching and learning moment, but I would really love to hear from the crowd first. Um, but I know it can be challenging to be the first at bat when it comes to speaking up in these webinars. I see some answers coming in the chat. Um, One participant is noting um, employment rates among their former students, noting that they're all about employment, which is great. I mean, that's a great outcome from your teaching. It's clearly very meaningful to you. We have Arlene who's sharing that they teach a 100 level stats course that focuses on DSJ, and they're always encouraged by their students' level of engagement. That's lovely to see. I think that's the goal for each of us is to engage our students as much as possible. Oh, Shannon shared that any experience where they took away a tangible skill to apply was a meaningful experience to them. And of course, that's central to what we hope to accomplish in all of our teaching is that we're preparing students for real world experiences. Oh, Jack shared about service learning projects, post-hurricane disaster work in New Orleans. That's incredible. Yes, totally. And that's right in line with open pedagogy and authentic assessment and creating a new renewable assignments that will actually create impact in the community beyond your classroom. I would also love to know if you have any ideas for how you could potentially enhance your teaching and learning experiences with new AI technologies. It's totally cool if you don't have an idea for this now. We can potentially circle back to it at the end of the session. But if there's any way you think that new and emerging AI technologies could potentially um, build upon the past teaching and learning experiences you've had. I would love for anyone to share that, either raising your hand and unmuting, or you can always share in the chat as well. And I would be happy to share an example myself. Um, One of my most meaningful teaching and learning experiences was taking an information literacy class. It was really my first time teaching. I taught a short 15-minute session all about using research databases to find journal articles about new films. It takes some creativity because films from the past year won't have published journal articles uh, with regards to them. So it really took some creative thinking with keywords. And I was thinking it'd be nice in the future if I would be able to use AI tools to update this kind of presentation yearly, with each year new films coming out. I see Diana, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, has raised their hand. Diana, would you like to unmute and share with everyone?
Okay, so first I'm going to say that it was very brave of me to take the video off because I'm not present worthy. But but I'm going to say I'm hoping I'm on point with what you're asking. I use a lot of supplemental material and AI assignments to have my students analyze a fairly easy novel, actually.
Hmm.
And at the end of last quarter, and this is like, because I take a pretty basic, easy novel, and then I do supplemental materials. First, I start with magazine articles, and I move to the end where we do an actual scholarly article. And I had a student at the end of the last quarter talk about how he had never really enjoyed reading, didn't like reading, and he now saw that you could take a book that seemed like it was about something, and actually he goes, yeah, I was reading a completely different book, and I went to AI and I said, did what if scenarios like we did in class, and I just want to look for other books that help me see perspectives, and even
Hmm.
though it's not like how he's going to make money out in the world, it's powerful to use AI to teach them how to see things from other people's perspectives.
That is very cool. Yeah, I mean, at that it shows how much AI can be a part of the joy of learning. Um, and it speaks to um, one of the great joys of reading as well is being able to look at the world from different perspectives. So interesting to see AI being implemented in that. And I think that's a very exciting prospect. So thank you so much for sharing. We have some more anecdotes in the chat. Let me see if I can scroll through and pull out a few. There's so many.
Hello, can you hear me?
Uh, Lynn, is that you speaking?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm currently in the process of teaching second year business students their project where they have to develop some sort of a plan. In this class, it's a digital marketing plan, and so I'm asking them, since we're inside of a prison, they don't have access to any AI resources, but they can give me prompts which I feed into AI for them, and then they come out with some feedback. I'm going to see how that works for them to develop their digital marketing plans for a business that they are interested in.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're really excited about it. I'll find out in the class this afternoon how it's going to go, at least for the first round. So that's been fun.
That's very interesting. So if I'm understanding correctly, they're giving you the prompt and you are feeding the prompt into the AI. So you're kind of an intermediary between the student and the AI.
Yeah, necessarily so, because like they don't have very good access to the internet. It's very limited, and certainly none to artificial intelligence. So I can do that. I expect that there will be several iterations to refine what they've got, and they're going to ask follow-on questions. And that it'll be good for them to learn how to use this because all their competition will be using it or is already.
Right. No, it's a great skill for them to add, but it's an interesting dimension to add, that sort of delay between the student and the AI, because I mean part of the appeal of AI for students is that it is instantaneous. It generates in seconds a paper that they would take hours to write. But with you as an intermediary, they actually have to wait, which is so interesting because it might encourage them to pause and reflect on the prompt they've created and what might come back from the AI. I really like that.
What I expect in the dynamic in the class is that they're going to read the output that they got, and then they're going to share with each other, and then refine their prompts to be much more on target. And that will be also a learning experience for them. And I'm looking forward to that process.
That's great. I love the sort of iterative process where they can write a prompt, wait to see what comes back, reflect on it, refine it, try different things. It seems like you've hit on something really fascinating just out of
Well, yeah,
sheer circumstance.
I think a big part of the learning process is learning from each other's prompts. Because some of these prompts are much better than others,
Hmm.
and if they can share these things and see how others have done it and gotten different types of results, they will learn much more than if they were just doing it on their own.
Right. And you've hit on the I think sort of a fear of AI being used in education is that it will discourage conversation and sociality between students. But because they'll be working together and discussing their use of the AI, you're actually encouraging more conversation. It's just a different conversation than we would have had previously before generative AI. Well, thank you all so much for um, sharing those experiences and for talking about how AI can play into them. We'll keep these responses in mind as we take a closer look at each individual type of supplemental material, because what you value in teaching in a teaching and learning experience can inform the supplemental materials you create and how you deploy AI in their creation to make instruction more joyful for all. So, in terms of the types of supplemental materials we'll be talking about today, authentic assessments belong to a category of teaching known as open pedagogy. Open pedagogy is a framework for teaching that favors engaging students in content creation for learning. Agency is a key in open pedagogy, empowering students to learn by doing, developing, adapting, or using open educational resources in the process. Authentic assessments are also sometimes called alternative assessments. They aim to activate students by engaging them in creation that extends learning beyond the walls of the classroom to leave a lasting impression and enduring work product. They deal in real-world problems, often with real-world constraints, such as creating an advertising campaign that fits a certain budget in a marketing course, or outlining a project charter that suits certain time and human resources in a management course. I would love it if you would put a 1 in the chat if you use authentic assessments in your instruction. Imagine you're a student in one of the following scenarios. One, you read your learning material from a textbook and hope your understanding of the concepts is correct. Two, your reading of the learning material from a textbook is complemented by an interactive quiz that offers you immediate feedback on your comprehension. And three, you learn material, demonstrate your understanding, and receive immediate feedback on your comprehension, all in one fun and engaging simulation game. Which do you find most appealing? Interactive self-checks provide students with just-in-time feedback on their learning that ensures they grasp the content while studying independently. It can be such a relief to have this safeguard against misapprehending a core concept that may be vital to achieving learning objectives. And as an instructor, interactive self-checks enable you to field fewer baseline understanding questions from students and engross them instead in deeper critical thinking about your material. When they have activities that check their understanding, you don't have to be the one to check it for them. Think about how much time this could save you in class to put towards digging deeper into your subject matter and establishing more meaningful points of connection with your students. Put a 1 in the chat if you use interactive self-checks in your instruction currently. Opportunities to collaborate and cooperate encourage students to take charge of their learning by driving their classroom experience. They also have the added benefit of promoting social skills like decision making, role development, conflict management, and effective communication. Cooperative activities can include peer teaching, asking students to teach your material to one another. It can be an effective measure for ensuring their understanding and solidifying their learning retention. Role play, assigning characters to students in hypothetical scenarios where they consider alternative perspectives. Healthy competition, gamifying your instruction to challenge and motivate your students by playing them off one another. Instead of beaming lessons at students in your class for them to later reflect on in essays and assignments, in-class writing exercises involve you, the instructor, in this reflection. This gives you the best chance at understanding and guiding your students' thought processes. In-class writing exercises can include 3-minute papers, asking students to take the time in class to summarize their learning and contemplate some big questions, letters of advice, eliciting advice from current students to future students about how to best succeed in your course, multiple choice distractors, asking students to write the wrong answers to comprehension questions that could be later used as distractors in multiple choice quizzes, directed paraphrasing, which encourages students to apply their learning by paraphrasing your lesson for a real-world audience. Connecting your instruction to real-world scenarios is a surefire way to energize your students. This promotes active learning by inviting students into problem-solving processes they will encounter outside of the classroom. These can come in the form of case studies that apply concepts learned in class to real contexts. You could ask students to form groups and tackle problems using John Dewey's decision-making model, which has students diagnose possible causes of the problem, take an inventory of potential solutions, and weigh these potential solutions and champion whichever they think is best. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat if you use in-class activities in your instruction. Creating supplemental resources such as slide decks, videos, and podcasts enhances the teaching and learning experience by providing multiple avenues for engagement. These tools cater to diverse learning styles, allowing students to absorb information in ways that suit them best. Slide decks help organize key concepts visually, videos offer dynamic and illustrative explanations, and podcasts deliver flexible, on-the-go learning opportunities. Again, I would love it if you put a 1 in the chat if you use additional resources in your instruction. So you may ask, where does generative AI come in to supplemental resources? As of writing, there are 39,498 AI tools for 13,584 tasks and 5,024 jobs, according to There's an AI for that. AI tools are becoming more and more predominant in our daily lives. It's worth pausing to consider where they might help or hinder our work in education. This new era of teaching and assessment gives us the opportunity to reflect on our materials and ask, are these working for me and my students? And whether or not we can adapt and create something new that sparks joy and prepares students for life beyond the classroom. Later in this workshop, I'll share some examples of how participants in the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate opted to use AI in their creation to achieve these goals. In this webinar, we're not asking how AI can replace instructors who are invaluable and irreplaceable, but how AI tools can enhance instruction, and if so, when to use them. Creation is a human instinct that can't be substituted by machine learning. Without your prompting, generative AI generates nothing. With that in mind, I'd like to think of generative AI as a member of your team, supporting your efforts by playing roles that benefit from automation. These roles can include AI as a researcher, recommending resources that are pertinent to your discipline and instruction, AI as an outliner, providing an overall structure for your instructional objects, AI as an editor, refining your early drafts for clarity and cohesion, AI as a tutor, supporting students' comprehension and learning retention by helping them understand the learning material they find most challenging, AI as an advisor, providing feedback on your teaching material that motivates you to improve the learning experience, AI as a grader, expanding on your initial assessment of students' deliverables to provide more comprehensive feedback, AI as an activator, suggesting participatory learning experiences for engaged learning and formative assessment, AI as a summarizer, condensing your learning material into a high-level recap, and AI as an interpreter, translating your learning material from one language to another. I'd also like to hear from the audience if there are any roles not listed on the slides that you've seen AI play or you believe AI can play in your instruction. I would love it if you would drop those in the chat. Oh, someone said travel consultant. Someone said they have AI act as the patient. Oh, that's interesting. I am assuming in some kind of medical or therapeutic context. I would be interested to see how students engage with that. Create differentiate activities. Oh, someone uses AI for nursing instruction. These are great. I love the diversity of disciplines that's being represented here in the chat. Someone has AI role play the client. Combining resources and finding redundancies. That's great as well. Yeah, these are some great answers. And thank you all for sharing. It's also vital to think about some of the ethical considerations for AI. For example, large language models have no conscience or critical thinking skills. They can produce inaccurate, misleading, and unethical information, and they can also share intellectual property without attribution and present information in a way that manipulates the user. It bears repeating that AI is trained on historical data and can reproduce historical prejudices. For example, AI that is trained on predominantly male authored texts will favor male authors in its research and evaluation of sources. It's your responsibility as an AI user to check the output for any harmful biases that it might perpetuate. There are also environmental impacts to consider. The computational power required to run large language models and deep learning algorithms drives significant energy consumption and carbon emissions. AI data centers also draw in high volumes of water to cool their servers. Centers for Teaching and Learning are leading the charge towards sustainable AI use in education by providing instructors with the tools and knowledge they need to make informed decisions about their use of AI and its environmental impacts. To begin making these informed decisions, you can start by asking myself, do I need to use AI? Do I need to use it in this instance? And how could I accomplish the task I want to accomplish without the use of AI? Most national copyright regimes determine whether a work qualifies for protection based on the concepts of authorship and originality. Courts have consistently ruled that only human-created works can be protected under copyright law, excluding AI-generated content from authorship. Both EU and US laws require that a creative work must be the direct result of human action. Since AI systems, as currently understood, operate entirely through computational processes without the ability to make free or creative choices, they do not meet their legal threshold for creativity or authorship and are considered to be part of the public domain. However, you can still apply Creative Commons licenses to works involving AI, but the license only applies specifically to the portion of the work that are your own human contributions. Elements purely generated by AI may not be protected by copyright and thus may not be subject to licensing. While training AI models on copyrighted material often falls under legal exceptions like fair use and fair dealing, CC licenses do not automatically grant permission for such use. Additionally, if CC licensed works include personal data, Privacy laws still apply regardless of the license terms. When it comes to attributing works that are partially AI authored, uh, you may know Tassel, but I'd like to now introduce you to Tassel Up. You can think of Tassel Up as Tassel's robot cousin, where in addition to citing the title, author, source, and license of the material you are revising and remixing, you can also cite the usage. Why did you select this particular tool? And how was the use of AI beneficial in creating your content? And the prompt. What prompt did you use to elicit the AI's output? Attributing your revised and remixed materials using Tassel Up embeds a record into your content of the pathway the learning material took from inception to adaptation to delivery, promoting transparency and reciprocity for AI users. Now I'd like to discuss what you envision as your dream supplemental material and how AI can contribute to its creation. You may have an idea of what types of supplemental materials will be most beneficial to your instruction practice, but it can be all the more exciting if you don't. With or without a pre-existing roadmap, the exploration process will be equally fruitful. I'll lead you through some guiding questions to help you start ideating, and you can feel free to jump in anytime with questions of your own, to offer suggestions to your fellow participants, and to build off each other's ideas. So for the first guiding question, I'm going to put 1 minute on a timer, and I'd like you to write down as many adjectives as you can to describe what teaching with your supplemental material will feel like. And then we'll go around and hear from the audience. Let me just set this timer up. So, 60 seconds on the clock. How will you feel when teaching with your ideal supplemental material? And go. All right, and that's time. If anyone would like to unmute and share, I can also share. There's plenty of examples people dropped in the chat. We have engaged, confident. Oh, less stress. That's a good one. Uh, Shannon says less stress due to time savings, some content creation, or at least the baseline for an activity. Okay, yeah. AI can definitely help with that sort of building that foundation, and can do it very quickly, which will definitely save you time. More confident. Purvis says teaching would feel light, almost effortless, as students would be drawn in, engaged, excited. I think that's probably a goal we all have. I think that's probably the universal ideal teaching experience. Hopeful, confident, personalized, that's great. Liberated, empowered, invigorated, for sure. We all hope to create energizing materials that not only energize our students, but also energize ourselves, to make teaching something we look forward to doing every single day. Would anyone like to unmute potentially and share? No pressure, but it would be lovely if anyone would like to share their list out loud. But we've got some great examples in the chat. But I'll give you like a 20-second window in case anyone wants to jump in. All right. Now for this next portion of the exercise, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to put another minute on the timer, and I'd like you to write down this time as many adjectives as you can to describe how your students will feel learning from your supplemental material. And then we'll do the same. We'll either read from the chat or have anyone who'd like to unmute and share. So 60 seconds on the timer. How will your students feel from your supplemental material? And go. Okay. And that's time. So we have some great answers in the chat. And again, I invite anyone to unmute if they'd like and share their answer aloud with the group. But let's see what we've got here. Got confident, eager to keep learning and engaging and proud of themselves for sure. Active learning, feeling safe, excited. That's very true. I think some of the concerns around students using generative AI themselves to uh, fulfill their assignments can be somewhat alleviated if we make learning fun for them. We want to make it as an engaging experience as possible so that they look forward to learning and they don't necessarily want to reach for AI tools to fulfill their deliverables. At ease, supported, not lost, confident, curious for sure. Engaging curiosity is central, I think, to making this learning experience engaging for students. Again, empowered, engaged, involved, excited, interested. A lot of people putting engaged in the chat, which I love to see. Invigorated. Stacy says they want students to see value in their activities, and that's for sure central to making activities appealing for students so they don't reach for these AI tools, you know? Um, Make them look forward to learning just as much as you look forward to teaching. Um, and again, I'll give a window here in case anyone wants to unmute and generate some conversation. I'll give you about 20 to 30 seconds.
I'm a notorious unmuter.
Oh, good.
And I did not put necessarily positive comments in that answer. I sometimes I notice that students don't take the supplemental materials with them when they leave the classroom.
Mm.
I've noticed that sometimes they feel overwhelmed, like I'm giving them more information.
Mhm.
So I just thought I would be the opposer here and just give some other responses that could be possible
Mhm.
and not trying to bum everyone out. So thank you. See you later. Bye.
Thank you for sharing. And it's true, supplemental materials aren't going to be for every student. We try to tailor them as much as possible and make them, as much as we can, a positive experience. But uh, we can't read the mind of every student. So we do our best to make them appealing. And we hope to engage our students as much as we can. And if they're not engaged with certain supplemental materials, hopefully there will be other materials that engage them. Would anyone else like to unmute and share? Okay. Now, for the third part of this exercise, I'd like you all to think about the role you envision generative AI playing in the creation of your ideal supplemental material. And I'd like you to think about it in the context of those adjectives that you've already used. You could even think about how you might incorporate those adjectives in prompting an AI to assist you with the creation of the supplemental material. So if you have any ideas surrounding that, I would love it if you threw them in the chat or unmuted and shared. I'll give you the window if anyone would like to take the floor. Oh, Jeffrey says they would like AI to be the supplemental material. That's interesting. So I'm thinking of some active learning using AI tools. I mean, from what I can intuit from that response. Jeffrey, if you'd like to unmute and share more, I would love to hear more about that.
So as we had some other notes earlier, whether it's the patient or the client, students would love to interact. I have students that have AI as their best friend. Literally, it's their confidant at 2 a.m. that they talk to. But interact with the client, solving a client problem. I can't think of anything that's more exciting or engaging than that. It's got to be better than paper when, half my students don't have a 3-ring binder. That's not how they do it. That's why they're leaving the stuff in the classroom. They are not paper people. And it may be different than your learners. We have a lot of learners in the vocational college that are not readers. They are much more, they want to see it on YouTube. They want to do it hands-on. That's how they know they're going to understand it.
No, that's very interesting. And I'm wondering if when you're using AI as kind of this client role play, is there a potential to sort of mold the AI's behavior? So say if you want a student to experience maybe a more belligerent client or challenging client, you can have the AI model that for them.
You can absolutely set it up that way. You can set it up where the AI client is smarter in cybersecurity, which can be a tougher sell, or not as smart, and then you've got to simplify it. You tell the AI what it is that you want, and it's happy to try to do that. It's all about making you happy. The AI is all about making you happy.
And in a way, your students are trying to make the AI happy in return, which is an interesting relationship. But I love that they're having these experiences that prepare them for a variety of responses to their support and assistance. I'm going to check the chat now to see if we have a lot of responses coming in. I just want to see if there's anything I can pull out for you all. Shan is looking for prompts that elicit more critical thinking for real world applications. Definitely. I think critical thinking is going to be central to AI literacy. And so it's vital that we engage students as much as we can in that. Okay, lots of great responses in the chat. I wish I could read them all. I'm unfortunately running a little low on time, so I have to move on. But thank you all so much for your participation. I'm glad to see this kind of active engagement today. I'd like to share a few examples of how participants in the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate used AI in their creation. One participant, excuse me, sorry, lost my place in my speaking notes. One participant used ChatGPT and Gemini to edit their pitch for supplemental material, comparing how each tool helped them to refine their vision. ChatGPT offered revisions to their in-class activity for music students, exploring the soundscapes of various cultures. The AI tightened the specificity of their proposed learning outcomes, like helping students to develop insightful, thought-provoking questions and creating projects that can be built upon by future classes. Another participant showed great enthusiasm for using SlidesGo to generate visually appealing presentations in seconds from speaking notes and simple prompting. This participant took special interest in SlidesGo's graphics library, which offers images that represent a wide range of ethnicities and abilities. Participants also engaged in a fruitful discussion about AI in assessment. They were understandably reticent to use AI for generating feedback on student assignments. The consensus among the cohort was that feedback should be a personal dialogue between instructor and student. However, it was noted that generative AI tools can offer assistance to expand bullet points into a more comprehensive response to students' deliverables. And one participant thought using generative AI could help them adjust the tone of their feedback to suit a generation that communicates differently than their own. Prior to earning the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate, 33% of participants strongly agreed with the statement, "I value the creative process of developing openly licensed materials as a way to connect with the joy of teaching and learning." 44% of participants agreed with this statement, and 22% of participants neither agreed nor disagreed. 66% of participants agreed with the statement, "I believe generative AI can be an effective instructional tool to customize supplemental materials," and 33% of participants neither agreed nor disagreed. Following the course's conclusion, 75% of participants strongly agreed that they value the creative process of developing openly licensed materials as a way to reconnect with the joy of teaching and learning, and 100% of participants agreed that they believe generative AI can be an effective instructional tool to customize supplemental materials. This change in perception can be perhaps attributed to the increased confidence participants felt in creating supplemental materials. Prior to taking the course, 11% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident in creating authentic assessments. 11% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating interactive self-checks. 44% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating in-class activities. 11% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating additional resources. And 22% of participants agreed that they felt confident creating with generative AI. Following the course, 100% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating authentic assessments. 50% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating interactive self-checks. 75% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating in-class activities. 50% of participants strongly agreed that they felt confident creating additional resources. And 75% strongly agreed that they felt confident creating with generative AI. Overall, 25% of participants and 75% of participants strongly agreed that they felt supported in achieving the learning outcomes of reconnecting with the joy of teaching and learning through the creative process of developing materials that energize themselves and their students. Rebus is launching a new cohort of the Supplemental Materials Development Certificate this October. If you are interested in creating interactive self-checks, engaging in class activities, authentic assessments, or other resources that address student needs while reconnecting with the joy of teaching and learning through creative development, you can register today at www.rebus.community. And with that, I'd like to thank you so much for attending and participating in this workshop. I am so grateful for the active participation you've shown. And I'd like to open the floor up now for audience questions. So you can drop those in the chat or feel free to unmute and ask away. Oh, Arlene says, thank you. Thank you, Arlene. I see some goodbyes in the chat. Thank you all for attending. goodbye. Good day to you all.
Yeah, so it's about 9 to the hour. So if anybody is needing a break, this is a good chance to get a break before our last session. We have one more breakout session before the end. Spencer, is it all right if you stick around for a couple more minutes, just in case anybody has some questions that
Yeah.
that come up?
Yep, I'm ready.
So Spencer's here if you want to stick around for a little bit. But if not, if you got to go take a break, or if you want to get ready to head over to the other breakout room for our last session. If you're going to take off, though, I see the thank yous coming in the chat. I want to thank you, Spencer, for taking the time here to talk about the supplemental materials. I think there was a lot of really good information, and I'm interested in that program you guys offer over at Rebus.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a great opportunity for me to talk about supplemental materials and AI. And I mean, I've absorbed so much from the participants today, so I'm so thankful for their participation.
Yeah, I think it was a great session. Lots of interactivity. I always love that whenever I'm at a conference like this. So. Link to the lobby coming in shortly.
You still taking a couple questions?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'm in a position now where I'm an associate professor of music, but I'm trying to transition into OER and to become an OER champion for my department. There's not really any kind of clear guidelines on how to do that. What I've got in mind is that I'd like to get a series of AI bots or agents to help research and pull in a bunch of the materials, kind of assess them as far as like this is what this person needs to teach in this class. And these are, go over these OER and, pick 4, 5, 6, 7, of these. And then I want to also be able to use that to embed it and make like a course shell with all of those resources embedded. And then I can hand that off to a faculty when they go to do a learning circle to create their course, and they can eliminate things they don't want. They can pare it down. I have the idea that I want to set like a big smorgasbord of things that you'd likely be interested in, and hand that to them. So if they've been struggling with D2L, struggling with some of the tech stuff on campus, that would take a lot of the obstacles out of the way and make it a lot easier to have the faculty say, this is going to be easy. I'll do this first 2 weeks with Joe and then go do the 10-week learning circle, and I'll create my first AI course. And I feel like in our case here, D2L can be kind of an impediment to that because it's kind of clunky to use. So it's just, if I can take some of those big bits of resistance for a faculty that hasn't done this at all before, that might be a good way to recruit them in. So any suggestions as far as like the AI agents and creating these things? Because I've got Copilot, but there's very limited things that it will do unless I want to build agents and all that. So how about if I shut up and you talk?
Well, I think ChatGPT and other generative AI tools could be useful in this case. If you're really just looking to collect an abundance of resources to kind of create a smorgasbord for faculty to pick and choose from, generative AI can definitely be helpful for just crawling the web, so you don't have to go to the OER repositories yourself. Some of those OER repositories have quite clunky search engines and interfaces. So AI can help you with that for sure, and it can also create some summaries for you too. So you kind of have a high-level overview of each OER. You don't have to go to each individual one, click through all the chapters, do some in-depth reading. You'll kind of have a better sense of what is useful to you just from the summaries that AI generates for you.
That makes good sense, and that's what I was thinking, is that not just finding them, but kind of helping to curate them so that they'd be tailored, to be along the lines of what I've gotten out of the table of contents of the commercial textbook used last year, and then basically not telling it to do any rewriting, because I know there's a lot of resistance to AI written materials. So if I could say, just take this part of this chapter and that chapter and just add them into like week 4 module, and just have it curated down to that level. And then that's where, like, the faculty of their expertise in their own area would pick and choose. But, that would be, instead of having them go do a search starting from scratch on everything, this would be, setting up the most likely things for them. So that's kind of what I'm after, is it's the not just the finding, but the curation, and then embedding it without necessarily rewriting it. This one is from this source, this one is from that source. They could pick and choose. And on the subject, have you had any experience using the Lumi in D2L?
No, I haven't. I haven't used D2L at all, actually. I'm more experienced with Canvas and Sakai learning management systems.
Gotcha. Well, I'm in a state university system that uses D2L, and that D2L is the one. So, but for better or for worse, but that's oh, I see there's some new things in the chat. Oh, I gotta grab those. Well, I don't want to take up tons of your time, but thank you very much. I really appreciated this. I feel like I'm gonna have to go over this, look at my notes, and then watch it again, and get like my round 2 out of it.
Well, I'm glad you got something out of it. I hope I didn't go through it too quickly.
No. That's up to me. I've got my own distractions here, so that's it's been really, really helpful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Well, I'll probably hop off of this after I get the chance. Thanks again, and thanks for the seminar and for the extra information.
All right. Take care. Thank you. All right, we're almost at time. I'll give everyone just 1 more minute, maybe, in case there are any lingering questions, but I think we're probably close to wrapping up. All right. Seems like there's no more questions, so I'd just like to thank you all again for attending and participating. And I wish you all a great afternoon, happy Friday, and have a great weekend as well. So take care, everyone.